We've got some secrets for you.
Lots of secrets. Secret societies. We're talking Bohemian Grove, all these celebrities walking into the forest and doing weird rituals.
You ever worshipped an owl? A secret society composed of the world's most influential politicians and celebrities that worship an owl god and have high hopes of creating a new world order in which every aspect of society directly benefits them and supports their most hedonistic behaviors and deepest, darkest desires. If you think I'm describing the Bohemian Club, congratulations, you are absolutely correct. Hidden within Sonoma County, California lies Bohemian Grove, the campgrounds of the Bohemian Club. Every year, the club gathers at the grounds for 2 weeks to party like there's no tomorrow and to plan exactly how they want tomorrow to unfold. Members over the years have included Clint Eastwood, Henry Kissinger, Walter Cronkite, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Charles Schwab, Ambrose Bierce, Bret Hart, Mark Twain, and Jack London. Along with partying and planning, the members of the club also apparently worship a giant 30-foot tall, 9-meter owl statue believed to give them influence over the rest of the world. Security on the grounds is no joke. In fact, members of the History Channel were actually arrested for trying to infiltrate the campsite a few years ago. Luckily, however, a pretty infamous, now cancelled, conspiracy theorist was able to sneak his way onto the grounds undetected and even witnessed part of the ceremony in which members of the club chanted, "The owl is in his leafy temple, let all within the grove be reverent before him," and then they set a human effigy on fire. If that doesn't scream New World Order cult, I'm not really sure what does.
The Freemasons. So this secret society has been around for centuries. So it's no surprise that people have cooked up all sorts of theories about them. So first up, many believe the Freemasons are working towards total control, pulling the strings from behind the scenes, making big decisions that shape the world as we know it. Some even say their ultimate goal is a single global government, basically a new world order. Another juicy conspiracy is that the Freemasons are linked to the Illuminati. Some folks think the two groups are basically one and the same, with the Freemasons serving as a front for the even more secretive Illuminati. Together, they're believed to be plotting world domination, using their secret meetings and rituals to plan their next move. Then there's the story about Freemason symbols being hidden in plain sight. From the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill to the layout of streets in Washington, D.C., these symbols are said to be everywhere, left as clues to the Freemasons' influence and power. I also mentioned secret rituals before. Nobody really knows what goes on in these ceremonies, but they are known to have them. Along with that, there are secret handshakes, coded language. Along with the Illuminati connection too, the Freemasons are rumored to be a possible continuation of sorts of the ancient Knights Templar, which that part's kind of cool.
What's better than a Freemason? A master Freemason. And what's better than that? A master Freemason who has been given permission to enter into the even more secret and elite society of the Masonic Knights Templar. While becoming a member of the Knights Templar does require members to be practicing Christians and to have achieved the highest level of Masonry, the Masonic Knights Templar is its own distinct organization. Founded in the 12th century as a religious military group, the secret society grew to include many of the most prominent members of society. Of course, the process to join the Masonic Knights Templar is neither easy nor short, and so one can easily assume that only the best of the best were actually able to sit in on the meetings and learn about plans for a possible new world order from the most elite of the elites. If a new world order is coming, I guess it only makes sense that it would be coming from like the most skilled members of the most popular secret society of the 21st century, right? We're talking Masons, but like make them better, make them more secretive, make them know more, have more influence. You've got the Knights Templar. It's kind of scary.
Skull and Bones. Sounds like the crew of a modern day pirate ship, but it's actually a secret society at Yale University. Kinda lame, but boy, do they have some wild conspiracies tied to them. The group was founded way back in 1832. Only 15 seniors are picked each year, and those who get in are called bonesmen. One of the big conspiracies is that Skull and Bones controls the US government. Many of their members have gone on to hold powerful positions like presidents, George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush. push. Another spooky theory is that Skull and Bones is involved in dark rituals. Rumors say they steal skulls, including the skull of Native American leader Geronimo, which is supposedly kept in their clubhouse called the Tomb. Some believe they use these skulls in strange ceremonies. Not a huge leap, seeing as they call themselves Skull and Bones, but also just seems a little too on the nose, but hey, that's just me. Of course, there's the New World Order connection as well. Are Skull and Bones part of a global network of elites working together to control the world? Or are they just a bunch of frat boys cosplaying as a dark, mysterious underground society? Order of the Solar Temple. Now, this group is sometimes referred to more as a cult, sometimes it's thought of as a secret society. It was kind of both. But honestly, most of these secret societies seem pretty cultish to me. Like, I think there's a fine line with a lot of overlap. Like, you know, we're not a cult. We're a secret society. Sure. The Order of the Solar Temple came about in 1984 and took a lot of inspiration from the Knights Templar, which you could probably have guessed just by looking at photographs of their ceremonies. They also combined elements of New Age spirituality, Christian mysticism, and yes, obviously, even UFO conspiracy theories. So, they were also a doomsday cult, oh boy. And they believed the world was going to come to a close at some point in the mid-90s. They never gave an exact date, which I think is kind of smart. You know, you give an exact date and that date goes, like everyone kind of loses faith, right? But like with many of these groups, there was a strict hierarchy and initiation process with members ascending through the ranks to gain access to the organization's supposed secrets. A key aspect of their teachings was this idea that life was just an illusion, and in order to achieve a higher existence on another planet, of course, members needed to shed their physical bodies, and shed their bodies they did. In 1994, 53 members from various locations, including the leaders, took their own lives and the lives of their fellow members. Remote-controlled devices were set off that ignited fires at their meeting places, leading authorities to discover the bodies.
Next up, the Priory of Sion, which was formed in AD 1099. So it's like pretty old. In the Holy and the Holy Grail, authors describe some of the society's most illustrious members as having been none other than Isaac Newton and Leonardo da Vinci himself. The group came about in an effort to promote a new world order of peace and prosperity that would stem from a leading Holy European empire. The society was also known to have protected certain royal claimants who they believed to be the literal descendants of the Bible's Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and King David. You know, from David and Goliath. While many people believe the group to have been a hoax, many others believe that the movement to diminish the validity of the organization was created in an attempt to protect the secrecy of the organization. In 1956, Pierre Plantard was said to have sent letters back and forth with his friends describing the organization and their hand in fabricating it.
Bohemian Grove. Now, this group is about as secretive as it gets. We really don't know what the hell these fellas get up to, but secrets in the woods aren't generally pleasant. This is a group that gathers once a year at Bohemian Grove Campground in Monterey, California. This is a very old tradition, beginning way back in 1878. Of course, the campground is completely off limits to anyone who's not involved in the festivities. Members include politicians, businessmen, Hollywood actors, powerful men. There are such prominent men in Bohemian Grove that security is incredibly tight. Military and even members of the United States Secret Service help to secure the area. As for what goes on there, I think big business decisions and talks is probably a pretty safe bet, but I mean, could there be more going on than just bigwigs roasting marshmallows and talking business in the woods? Could there be some cultish creepiness going on here as well? Only one way to find out. Get rich or famous or both, and then hope to get invited.
And to finish us off today, take a guess. Go ahead, I'm waiting. The Illuminati. The society formed illegally on May 1st of 1776 in Upper Bavaria in Germany. Its members were wealthy, well-known, and ranged from influential intellectuals to public-speaking politicians. Unlike most societies and secret organizations at the time, the Illuminati did not subscribe to any particular religion. Rather, they strived towards a radical form of enlightenment, hence the name Illuminati. Of course, because the group failed to name a religious devotion, a widespread belief that the group was comprised of Satanists with one main goal, to overthrow organized religion, took off like wildfire. In reality, this was kind of not the case. In fact, the majority of the Illuminati members were actually something called humanists, meaning that they stood for the building of a more humane, compassionate, and democratic society ethically based on human reason, experience, and reliable knowledge. While some people believe the Bavarian Illuminati to have died out around the late 1700s, some speculate that it actually led to the formation of the Skull and Bones Club that we spoke of earlier. And further still, some believe that the secret society is operating to this day, managing the main actions of international government, hoping to one day instill a one-world government grounded on atheist, humanist principles. But who knows, right? I'm guessing Kanye does. When it comes to the creation of a new world order, we often assume that the world's elites would be behind it. But have you ever stopped to think about who might be behind them? Not like in a dirty way or anything, but in an obey me or I will destroy you kind of way. I'm talking about the Majestic 12, a super secret group of highly advanced intelligent beings that may or may not come from Earth, secretly controlling the global elite, using celebrities and politicians to create the world they want so that one day they may take over in an entirely new kind of new world order. The theory of the Majestic 12 comes from a secret committee commissioned by President Truman in the 1940s, dedicated to keeping an eye on UFOs. When people found out about the committee, a statement was released saying it had been disbanded, but many people, to put it politely, thought the statement was a load of crap. Not only that, but they believe that the committee was never actually designed to keep an eye on extraterrestrial activity in the skies above, but rather the extraterrestrial activity taking place on Earth, i.e. highly intelligent extraterrestrial beings worming their way into governments across the globe to one day come together. One world government, extraterrestrial takeover, you guys get it, you've seen sci-fi, right?
The Bilderberg Group. Anytime a bunch of politicians and elites from across the globe get together, people get a little suspicious, and I get it, a little transparency would be nice. This group started in 1954, and it gets its name from the hotel in the Netherlands where they first met. Every year, about 120 to 150 of the world's most powerful people, politicians, business leaders, and other assorted bigwigs, gather in a super secret meeting. No press, no public, it's all hush-hush. Are they discussing ways to move society ahead in a positive direction with the well-being of the general public in mind? Or do they gather to figure out ways to screw us all out of our money, happiness, and health in a more efficient manner? I'd love to think it's the former, but the way things are going, I don't really think these talks are helping much anyway. So, could they be using these meetings to discuss and decide on major world events and manipulate the global economy? Could they be the cause of financial crashes or wars to serve their own interests? You know, hey, with so many influential people in one room, it's not that hard to imagine.
Next up, we have a secret society founded in 1099 AD, making it the oldest one on this list and perhaps the oldest in the world. The group has been alluded to in the Da Vinci Code, and it was also the inspiration behind Monty Python and the Holy Grail. While some people believe the society to be a hoax dreamed up and perpetuated by Pierre Plantard, a pretender to the French throne in 1956, many people believe that the secret society is legit and still around today. Not only that, but perhaps the hoax rumor was started by members of the society themselves to keep people from getting too close to their secrets. According to the book The Holy BLOOD and the Holy Grail, published in 1982, the organization was made up of illustrious grand members, including Isaac Newton and Leonardo da Vinci himself. It also protects certain royal claimants, believing them to be the literal descendants of Jesus, his alleged wife Mary Magdalene, not my words, or King David. And they seek the founding of a holy European empire that would become the next hyperpower and create a new world order of peace and prosperity and hopefully Italian food.
The Trilateral Commission is another gathering of influential elites from around the globe. The group was founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller, along with other powerful people from North America, Europe, and Japan. The idea was to get leaders from these three regions together to discuss and solve global issues, but of course, because all these meetings are top secret, people start to wonder. When it comes to conspiracies about a single world government, this group is close to the top of the list. Some people think this group wants to merge all countries into a single political entity, which would work to make sure the rich keep getting richer while everyone else gets left behind. And it probably doesn't help that back in 2023, a speaker at the Trilateral Commission's first secretive meeting in India, speaker unnamed because, it's all secretive, but he said, quote, or they said, quote, "This year, 2023, is year one of this new global order." That sounds pretty ominous from the outside when we don't really know what they're talking about, only vague statements about how they meet to apparently deepen the understanding between the US, Europe, and Asia.
The 10 Kings is an organization dedicated to the uprising of the 10 nations, which will eventually come together to create a singular government and thus an entirely new world order. Is it real? Who knows? Is it foretold in the Bible? Yes. The 10 Kings prophecy comes from Revelation 17:12, which reads, "And the then horns which thou swayest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as king 1 hour with the beast." I don't personally understand the connection, but according to people who believe in the secret society of the 10 Kings, there is one. To the Bible and to the Club of Rome, which they believe to be the brains behind the 10 Kings because of a paper published in 1973 that recommended splitting the world into 10 distinct regions. Currently, there are 8 industrialized nations known as G8, but the 10 Kings believers foresee 2 more being added to the equation in the years to come, and once that happens, hold on to your hats and get ready to assimilate because apparently a new world order is not far behind.
Opus Dei. This is a highly secretive Catholic group. They're pretty creepy. The conspiracies around Opus Dei usually focus on its influence, which may go far beyond the church. Some believe Opus Dei has a hidden agenda to control the Vatican and by extension the entire Catholic Church. The idea is that Opus Dei members are strategically placed in high positions to push their own conservative and traditional views, but again, could go beyond that. This group has a lot of influence. It helps that they have a lot of money at their disposal, possibly using it to gain political power. Could they be funding politicians, influencing governments in order to create a world that fits with their strict religious views? Certainly possible. They're also said to practice more cult-like behavior, brainwashing their members, especially young recruits, isolating members from their families and monitoring their activities to keep them in line. It's all your classic cult stuff. At the University of Virginia, there's a secret group where you don't find out who the members are until after they're already dead. They're called the Seven Society. And while their symbol, a 7 marked with a plus sign and an infinity symbol, gets painted around campus, nobody knows who's actually doing the painting. When a member dies, a wreath of black magnolias shaped like a 7 gets placed on their grave. At that exact moment, the university's chapel bells toll 7 times every 7 seconds. But what does this secret group do? Mostly philanthropy. They're dropped off checks, always in amounts involving the number 7, to fund scholarships and campus projects. Sometimes a letter just shows up at a university event tucked inside a hollowed out book. Because members only get revealed after they die, there's never a moment where the group can be exposed or dismantled. Membership is always alive, it's always active, yet it's completely invisible. We usually think of secret societies carrying out creepy rituals while wearing Venetian masks in the woods, but this group doesn't do any of that. The Order of the Occult Hand is almost like an inside joke for journalists. It started in the 60s at the Charlotte News, where a group of reporters made a pact to sneak a specific phrase into their serious news articles without their editors catching it. The phrase was, "It was as if some occult hand had," and then followed by whatever else you were already talking about, and that's really it. That's the whole game. Since then, that phrase has shown up in the New York Times, the Boston Globe, and papers all over the world. If you're a journalist and you manage to slip it past your editor and get it into print, you are in the club. No ceremony needed. The group got publicly exposed in the early 2000s, and instead of folding,
not that they'd really need to, the members just started adding different phrases to try and slip in. What's genuinely interesting about this one is that it does prove a secret society doesn't need robes or even a meeting place. It just needs a shared code. These people have been hiding signals inside newspapers that millions of people read every day, and almost nobody noticed for decades. That's kind of cool. In the Basque region of Spain, there are buildings that look completely ordinary from the outside, plain storefronts, regular houses, but behind the walls are private kitchens belonging to secret societies called chocos. They've been around for over a century. Originally, they were just a place for men to gather, cook, and talk freely. But that freely part is really important because during periods of heavy political repression, the Basque language and culture were banned in public. So these kitchens were some of the only places where people could actually be themselves without consequence. They're still around today, and they're still exclusive. You can't just show up. You have to be invited by a member, and even then, you don't get a key until you're fully in. Members cook their own meals, and when they use something from the shared supplies, they leave money in a box. It's an honor system. No one's checking. For a long time, women weren't allowed in at all, which has slowly started to change depending on the group. Next up, we have the International Order of St. Hubertus. This one sounds a lot more like the secret societies we often imagine in our heads. It goes back to the late 1600s. Members wear green robes with large crosses on them. They're grand masters and knights. It's a hunting society, officially dedicated to what they call ethical hunting. But the membership list is the part that actually matters. Politicians, it's lawyers, judges, wealthy landowners. It's not your average people. It's more like the kind of people that you'd expect to be in a secret society. You meet on private estates far from cities. Most people never heard of them until 2016, when Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died while staying at a remote ranch in Texas. Turned out the ranch owner and several other guests were high-ranking members of the order. That's when people started paying attention. They aren't hiding because anything illegal is happening, at least not that we know of. They're hiding because the whole point is to have a space where, extremely powerful people can interact with each other without any of it being on record. Translation, illegal stuff is probably happening. Washington and Lee University has a secret society known for being spotted late at night, moving across campus in black capes and masks. There are rumors that they use underground tunnels to get between buildings without being seen. The university openly acknowledges they exist, mostly because they keep making large anonymous donations to the school, which makes it hard to pretend they're not real. Their symbol is a skull and crossbones carved into hidden spots around campus. You can't apply to join, members get chosen privately, and their identities are never officially confirmed. Some people think it's a group of pre-med students, others think they function as a kind of unofficial watchdog for the campus, keeping an eye on everything. Nobody really knows though. What's odd is that the school basically tolerates them. Maybe they even actually appreciate them, while also having no official relationship with them whatsoever. They've been operating for decades, everyone knows they exist, but nobody really knows who they are.
We're starting off with the Thule Society. So this was a very creepy secret society that sort of spawned into the National Socialist German Workers' Party in World War II. They were an occultist and nationalist group founded in 1918 by Rudolf von Sabotendorf in Munich, Germany at the end of World War I. The group was named after the mythical northern land of Thule in Greek legend. There were all sorts in this group, from aristocrats to military personnel, and most of them went on to be early sympathizers of the National Socialist German Workers' Party. The Thule Society officially disbanded in 1925, but some of its members, including Heinrich Himmler and Rudolf Hess, went on to hold pretty prominent positions within Adolf's regime. The Thule Society was a big influence on the National Socialist German Workers' Party, especially when it came to the occult and the kind of pseudo-scientific elements of the movement. And a lot of the race theory ideology Adolf came to promote was found in the Thule Society early on as well. So, if you want to talk about disturbing secret societies who had a major impact on the course of history, this was certainly one of them.
Next up, we have the Freemasons, which if you're from Nova Scotia or the Maritimes, you probably know like at least one. But more specifically, I want to talk today about the Freemasons of the Grand Masonic Lodge, which was created in 1717 after 4 small groups of lodges banded together. The Freemasons were a secret fraternity group of brothers who operated under rules similar to Fight Club, meaning that the first rule of the Masonic Brotherhood was that you do not talk about the Masonic Brotherhood. It was a secret society after all. There are 3 degrees of Masonry: 1, entered apprentice; 2, fellow craft; and 3, master mason. Meetings of the society were routine and ritualistic, and their meeting place contained many architectural symbols such as compasses and squares for some reason. To gain entry into the Freemasonry, you must be at least 18 years of age and have been recommended to the society by at least 3 separate current Masons. So, how have the Freemasons changed history? Well, not only were 15 US presidents, including Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry S. Truman, part of the Masonry, but the Mormon Church as well as the Sicilian Mafia came as a direct result of the organization, which was, in its heyday, a tool of authoritarianism and a cover for revolutionary conspiracy.
Next on the list, we have the Ordo Templi Orientis. The Ordo Templi Orientis is a secret society that's still around today. It was founded at some point in the early 20th century. The British occultist Aleister Crowley played a major role in its development. The OTO was founded by an Austrian man named Karl Kellner, who studied mysticism and occult practices from all over the globe. Western occultism, theosophy, and elements of Eastern mysticism were all kind of combined here. The OTO became somewhat famous in the 20th century, attracting people who were into the stranger, mystical side of life. I really don't know anything about what these people were doing. Sorry if you're into this kind of thing and I'm butchering it, but it's just not my thing. Crowley went on to lead the group after Kellner's death, though, and made sure the OTO had its own rituals and teachings involving magic and mysticism. Now, the group itself didn't directly change history maybe, but many of its members were pretty influential. A lot of them were artists or writers and thinkers who definitely left their mark on the cultural scene of the 1900s. And then Crowley especially was a controversial figure, but he was known for his writings on magic and philosophy, and years later, he became pretty influential, apparently, in the counterculture movements in the 60s, man.
Number 8. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was devoted to practicing the occult, metaphysics, and paranormal activities during the 19th and 20th centuries. It borrowed from occult traditions like tarot, astrology, and Enochian magic to create magic systems still in use today. The society was based on hierarchy and initiation similar to the Masonic lodges. The first order involved learning historic philosophy and improving personal development through the study of astrology, tarot, divination, and geomancy, one of the 7 forbidden arts, and Renaissance magic. The second order taught magic, including astral travel, and the third order involves secret chiefs who direct the lower 2 orders by spirit communication. Number 7. The Molly Maguires. Ireland has a long list of secret societies, but the Molly Maguires originally emerged in Ireland in the 1840s, where they lashed out at landowners who treated their tenants unfairly. The group members were known for hiding their identities by wearing women's clothing and smudging their faces with burnt cork. Now, decades later, an American offshoot in Pennsylvania was composed mostly of Irish Catholic miners who were exploited by mining companies, partly to protest awful working conditions and predatory employment practices, and partly to resist being drafted into the Union Army during the Civil War. The American Mollies allegedly struck out at their employers, assassinating 24 foremen and supervisors throughout the 1860s and 70s. But it was their labor organizing activity that ultimately proved their downfall. When their efforts threatened the profits of the Reading Railroad, the company's president sent a detective to infiltrate the group. After a 2.5-year investigation, that same railroad president served as chief prosecutor in a series of trials that sent 20 men to the gallows. According to historian Kevin Kenny, the trials were outrageously unfair. Most of the prosecutors were railroad or mining company employees, there were no Irish Catholics on the jury, and evidence presented by the detective was suspect at best. But eventually, John J. Coe, the alleged king of the Mollies, finally received a full pardon from Pennsylvania's governor 101 years after he was hanged in December 1878. Number 6. Golden Dawn. The Order of the Golden Dawn was created by Dr. William Robert Woodman, William Wynne Westcott, and Samuel Liddon McGregor Mathers. The belief system of the Golden Dawn is largely taken from Christian mysticism, the religion of ancient Egypt, Freemasonry, alchemy, magic, and Renaissance writings, to name a few. William Yeats and Aleister Crowley are two of the more famous members of the group. Now, the fundamental documents of the order are known as the cipher document. These are translated into English using a cipher attributed to Johannes Trithominus. The documents are a series of 60 folios containing magic rituals. The basic structure of many of these rituals seem to originate with Rosicrucianism, and there is a great deal of controversy surrounding the origins of these documents, so just keep that in mind. Number 4. The Independent Order of Odd Fellows. The term Odd Fellows actually refers to an international organization of societies with origins dating back to the 1700s era London. The Independent Order of Odd Fellows, evolving from the former, still exists today, and even gained some headlines back in 2001 thanks to its arcane initiation practices. The Los Angeles Times reported that a maintenance person who was working at an Odd Fellows lodge uncovered real human remains hidden behind a wall. It was seized by police as evidence. Was this from a ritual? Did someone say something they shouldn't have? I don't know, and I don't think I want to be the one to find out. Number 1. The German Thule Society. Founded in August 1919 in Munich, Thule apparently believed in bringing upon the New World Order in a rather simple and effective way by ending people's lives and reducing the population. Getting right to the point, I see. Now, apart from practicing sexual magic, racist chants, and black magic, Thule members were often known to take part in supernatural exhibitions where they would invite demons and ask for their guidance. Now, some say it was a demonic ritual on the sexually impotent future German leader that made him into the sadistic ruler the world got to later know him as. Yeah, I would not want to get caught up with those guys at all.
Coming in at number 10, we have the Knights Templar, one of the most powerful military forces and financial forces in history. The Knights Templar was simply something made up to keep the Holy Land safe during the Crusades and make sure that the land of God stayed in their power. They eventually grew in numbers and wealth. They eventually became so powerful that they had fleets of ships and armies of men, not to mention they were immune to any law and only had to answer to the Pope. Their wealth was so great that they would loan out money to kings, and some kings they would deny financial aid, and this could have been part of the fact that they would only give funds to who they thought was worthy, and also they wanted to flex their financial power over people. But eventually this would be their downfall. In the 1300s they refused to loan out money to King Philip IV, and he started to dismantle them. He would kidnap, torture, and publicly execute all of the Templars he could get his hands on. Before he did this, he would make sure he made them confess to crimes that they didn't commit. Coming in at number 9, we have the Black Hand. It was a secret group that may have kicked off one of the biggest events in human history. They were structured back at the beginning of the 20th century. They had one goal. They wanted to see all the Slavic countries stop fighting and come together as a force. This is bold but not crazy. This is what Genghis Khan did to make the greatest conquering fleet the world has ever seen. This organization was created by a group of Serbian rebels that were tired of the encroaching influence of Western Europe. They had a plan to create turmoil through assassinations, and were they ever good at it? They were able to attack royal Slavic families, and for those of you who aren't familiar with what they have done, they were behind the murder of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which sparked the start of World War II. Coming in at number 8, the Grand Orange Lodge. Now, not all secret societies are evil. A lot of them were just made as safe havens for people from different classes, religions, or creeds to get together and discuss their thoughts without being prosecuted by the outside world. The Grand Orange Lodge was made up by Protestants in Ireland for Protestants in Ireland. They could all congregate and not worry about being chased down for having a slightly different Christian view. Now, the reason that this is on a list of scary things is because eventually they were found out, and the local newspaper was actually a supporter of their gatherings, and the head of the newspaper, as well as many members of the club, were secretly arrested. This also led to the outlawing of secret societies in Scotland. In the end, the lesson here is that the man will try to come down on you no matter how peaceful you are. Coming in at number 7 is the Quill and Dagger Society. Universities are hot spots for secret societies. It's a perfect trap. You have young budding minds who just want to fit in. You give them the opportunity to be part of something, but only if they join your weird secret cult. The Quill and Dagger was relatively unknown for quite some time, but then they changed that when they took a very strange turn for something that's supposed to be a secret. They started to publish the names of all their members in a book and even have social media accounts for the club. The worst thing attached to their history was an incident in the 90s when they were accused of finding members petitioning for minority rights and removing them from the club. Coming in at number 4 is the Hashashin. Let's go back through time to what was basically a super cool league of assassins. The Hashashin was a group of skilled Islamic mercenaries who would carry out hits on high-level targets. And we are not messing around when I say high level. This was back in the 11th century, so they were taking out kings, queens, generals of armies, and religious figureheads. They were able to operate in the shadows, and by doing so, they could sneak into a place, take out a target without causing a massive war. After the person was dead, however, it might have stirred up something a little violent. Unfortunately, a lot of the information on this ancient society was lost because one of the great libraries containing knowledge on their work was burned to the ground. They used to do that a lot back then, so most of the information is lost forever. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Anonymous. This would be the definition of a new age secret society. The thing is, none of us know if Anonymous is real or who they are, but let's say they are real. I mean, they have done some very real things like releasing confidential files and hacking into police databases. Here's what we do know about Anonymous. They seem to be on the side of the people and are anti-establishment. Every time they hack into something, it's to help the common person against the massive machine that puts its boots on the necks of those below it. They seem to be a group of high-level hackers that have found a way to collect and release very sensitive information. They also love the V for Vendetta mask. I think it can be frightening because it seems that they have the power to access any sort of digital information. But as long as you're not a horrible person hiding secrets on some hard drive, then you should have nothing to worry about.
In parts of West Africa, the official government isn't necessarily the one with the real power. That belongs to the Poro and Sande societies, which have existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. Poro is for the men, Sande is for the women. Both societies take young people into the forest for months at a time to teach them what they need to know to function as adults. They learn about the laws, herbal medicine, community rules, responsibilities, basically how society functions. It's part school, part legal system, part cultural tradition, but what actually happens during those months in the forest is kept completely off book. Historically, people who talked about it could be punished pretty severely, and these aren't just small village groups. In some places, politicians need approval from the Poro and Sande leaders before they can even run for office. Land disputes and conflicts, major community decisions often get settled through these societies instead of government courts. The outside people tend to label it as just some local tradition, but it goes way deeper than that. This is basically a parallel system of power that affects the daily lives of millions of people, and most of it happens completely out of view from the rest of the world. Almost everybody's heard of the Freemasons, right? But barely anyone talks about the Free Gardeners. The group started in Scotland back in the 1600s, and originally it was really just gardeners protecting trade secrets, stuff like grafting plants, managing soil properly, techniques that actually mattered if your livelihood depended on it, but over time it slowly turned into something more symbolic and philosophical. Their gardening tools started representing personal growth instead, so things like the spade or pruning hook became symbols of improving yourself and shaping your character. And like a lot of old school secret societies, they developed passwords, handshakes, initiation rituals, all that sort of thing. And a lot of it apparently hasn't changed much in centuries. The weird thing is the group almost disappeared completely during the 1900s. For a while, it looked like it was just going to fade into history, but in recent years, it's kind of started coming back. New lodges have opened in places like Australia and the UK, and they still meet privately, usually in small halls or rooms above pubs, carrying out these old ceremonies almost exactly the same way people did hundreds of years ago. Honestly, compared to some of the other groups on the list, the Free Gardeners seems a lot less focused on power or influence. I mean, it is about gardening, so not really, unless you're poison ivy, I don't know what you're doing with gardening to take over the world. Greece has this really strange group called the Epsilon Team, or Armada Epsilon. It sits in this weird space. Nobody can fully agree on how real it actually is. Depending on who you ask, it's either a legitimate secret organization or falls a bit more into the conspiracy theory territory. The people who believe in it describe it as a hidden network of scientists and military officials who secretly work to protect Greece and preserve ancient knowledge. Some claim the group has access to advanced technology that the rest of the world doesn't know about, which is where things start kind of drifting into sci-fi territory. But the interesting part is that the movement itself does exist. There are books, magazines, and entire communities built around Epsilon ideas. Some public figures in Greece have openly associated themselves with it, and their symbol, these two back-to-back letter E's, shows up in certain places if you know where you're looking. So even if the more extreme claims may not be true, there's definitely a group. The Mandatory Monday Association is said to operate in military academies in Australia. On the surface, it looks like a kind of hidden fraternity. Members meet every night. As for what they do, we don't know. But it's said that members can spot each other in public in really subtle ways, like certain bits of clothing, small details they only wear on meeting days, stuff most people would walk right past without noticing. Interesting part is where it leads, because these groups tend to form inside military academies. A lot of the members later end up in government, defense jobs, stuff like that. This final one is broader in scope. Before most big scientific discoveries ever hit the public, they usually pass through a small closed circle first. People call it the Invisible College. It's not a real building or a formal group, though. It's more like a network of top researchers who share ideas, they test each other's work, kind of decide what's solid enough to move forward and what still needs time. This goes way back to the 1600s with people like Robert Boyle, who would swap findings privately with a small group before anything was ever published. And that same pattern never really went away. It's just more modernized. Today it shows up in places like quantum physics, artificial intelligence, conversations that stay a step or two ahead of what the public ever sees. There are no symbols or weird rituals or anything like that, but a lot of what becomes accepted science moves through this inner circle first.
At number 10 is Bohemian Grove. You ever heard of the Bohemian Grove? It's kind of like a super exclusive campsite for a bunch of really powerful dudes. We're talking top-notch people like artists, musicians, big shots in business, former presidents, and even high-ranking officials. They meet up every July for more than 2 weeks of occult shenanigans and political conspiracy. I'll get to the culty stuff in a minute, but first, I just wanted to point out how powerfully influential this society is, as some major world-changing deals have gone down in this place. Get this, back in 1942, they had a meeting that led to the making of the atomic. Heavyweights like Ernest Lawrence, Robert J. Oppenheimer, and heads of the big shot universities first conceived the idea of the Manhattan Project right here. Now, what makes this site even more interesting, besides all the political agendas, are the extremely culty rituals that go down here. For example, the Cremation of Care ceremony is a theatrical production in which a bundle of sticks in a sack shaped as a person is burned and sacrificed in front of a giant owl statue known as Moloch, the owl god. I wish I were making this stuff up. The club's patron saint is Saint John of Nepomuk, who, according to legend, would have rather died at the hands of a Bohemian monarch, and did, rather than disclose the secrets of the queen. A large wood carving of Saint John with his index finger over his lips stands at the shore of the lake in the grove, symbolizing the secrecy kept by the grove's attendees. At number 9 is Scientology. It's not just another self-help thing or a bunch of weirdos. No. This is a strange and dangerous money-making machine disguised as a religion. Essentially, they managed to brainwash members into making a lifetime commitment to Scientology by signing a billion-year contract. Yeah, billion with a B. And in return for working an average of at least 100 hours a week, members earn $2 trillion. Sounds neat, but that's spread out over your billion-year commitment, amounting to, at maximum, $50 per week. Some members aren't even paid at all. They're all about hiding their sketchy stuff from the public eye. They even run their operations at sea or on reservations to dodge the law, so that even loyal high-profile members don't know all the shady stuff that's going on. Well, lots of folks want to believe in something, right? And that makes them easy targets. And Scientology isn't just about money, it messes people up big time. They use mind games to make you loyal, basically giving all their members Stockholm Syndrome. It's messed up, but true. These groups mess with your head so much that you can't even see the truth anymore. They make you think everything is okay, but it's a trap. And getting out isn't easy. It's like being kidnapped mentally. And if you do manage to escape, you will be pursued by private investigators till the end of the earth. They silence anyone trying to escape or spill the beans. Even the cult leader's wife, Shelley Miscavige, has been missing for almost 2 decades, which is seriously freaky. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 are the Freemasons. This ancient club has been around for centuries. Back in the day, these guys were a big deal, especially during the time when America was just getting started. Imagine that you're a builder working on big fancy cathedrals in Europe during the Middle Ages. These builders had to move from place to place, and to recognize each other they used special signs like the builder's square and compass, which ended up being an iconic symbols of Freemasonry. As a matter of fact, the very first third party in the United States, the Anti-Masonic Party, formed in 1828 in response to fears that the group was growing too secretive and powerful. Seems like those fears never went away. Now, the Freemasons aren't a religious group, but they do believe in a higher power. This belief caused some trouble with the Catholic Church way back when. See, the church didn't trust them much and issued a bunch of warnings against them, which led to some drama, even sparking America's first third party, which I just mentioned. But the Freemasons aren't just some ancient history club. They're still around today doing a lot of charity work, or in other words, passing around money tax-free. And get this, lots of famous people were Freemasons. Folks like George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, and even Mozart and Winston Churchill. Now, the symbol that everybody talks about, the square and compass, is like the builder's tools, and some folks think the G in the middle stands for geometry or God, or the grand architect of the universe. At number 7 is J.E.'s Little Black Book. Now, I have to be extremely careful about how I word this entry, as YouTube's algorithm will definitely suppress this video if I go into too much detail, so I'm just gonna have to heavily censor myself. But I highly encourage you to Google this yourself after the video. In the tangled web of secrets and connections, Jeffrey's Little Black Book emerged as a chilling glimpse into a world veiled from public view. This disturbing document, unearthed in a courtroom back in 2009, reads like a who's who of the global elite, meticulously chronicling the names, numbers, and addresses of the world's most powerful figures. Go through the document yourself, and I'm certain you'll recognize at least one name on every single page. There are 97 pages bursting with 1,571 names, plus 5,000 phone numbers, heaps of emails, and home addresses. Within these pages lies identities of celebrities, royals, esteemed scientists, and influential artists. The fact that this monster was so well connected really makes you think about the dealings that secretly go on with the elite. Among those circled are notable figures like Prince Andrew, Ehud Barak, and Donald Trump, leaving questions hanging in the air, inviting speculation about their involvement or ties to Jeffrey and his sinister operation.
Number 5, Ashoka's 9 Unknown Men. Now, this is India's only recorded secret society, and some believe that this was the most powerful society in the world, especially because there were only 9 members in it. King Ashoka of the Maurya dynasty in 270 BC, who had a change of heart after his conquest of Kalinga, formed a secret society of 9 men who would hold the key to everything in this world. Members of the group, who came from different walks of life, were given a topic of speciality. They were given the responsibility to develop, preserve, and prevent the information they found from getting into the hands of people who were capable of misusing it. Introduced to the world by a certain Talbot Mundy, he suggests that these 9 books are not only around in the modern world, but are being constantly updated by the people who could be completely trusted. Now, the first book talks about propaganda and psychological warfare. The second one spoke about physiology and how a human can have their life ended by a simple touch. The third book deals with biotechnology and microbiology. The fourth is on alchemy and transmutation of metals. The fifth one enlightened the reader about communicating with extraterrestrials. The sixth one spoke of the concept of Vinamidika Shastra, or the art of building spaceships or UFOs. The seventh one was about cosmology and the secrets of time travel. The eighth could teach the reader how to control the speed of light and use it for our own advantage. And the final book discussed sociology. It would speak of the evolution of humans, evolution of societies, including their downfall. Now, as you can assume, it is important that these books do not fall into the wrong hands. Number 4. The Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club in Dublin was built as a hunting lodge where Dublin elites used to gather in the 1700s. Now, the secrecy surrounding the group led to speculation that its members were Satanists and devil worshippers. Now, the president was named the King of Hell and dressed like Satan with horns, wings, and hooves. The members were also said to set a place at each meeting for the devil in hopes that he'd attend. Now, there have been numerous stories about black masses, animals, and even human sacrifice rituals happening at the Hellfire Club. The best known Hellfire Club story is one in which the devil himself appears. According to legend, a stranger joined the club members at a game of cards. Then when one of the players dropped a card on the floor, he bent down to retrieve it and saw that the stranger had cloven hooves instead of feet. Another popular tale concerns a young farmer who was curious to find out what went on at the club's secretive meetings. He was sneaking around and was invited in by the members and allowed to witness the night's activities. The young man was then found the next morning trembling and terrified, and tradition says he spent the rest of his life unable to speak, unable to even remember his name. Number 3. The Order of Nine Angels. Established in the 60s but getting its public recognition in the 90s, the Order of Nine Angels claimed to be followers of Satanism and came to the attention of the world thanks to their anti-Semitic ideologies and activism. They believe in human sacrifice to eliminate weakness and basically claim they want to conquer the common people. The members see it as a very individual pursuit of excellence by studying what Satan has to offer. Now, according to a recent survey, this group has more female supporters than either the Church of Satan or the Temple of Set, more older supporters, more supporters who came from a better socio-economic background. Number 2. The Secte Rouge. According to Zora Neale Hurston, an African-American author who traveled to Haiti in the 1930s, the Secte Rouge was a secret society that practiced a ritual where they ate other humans and grave robbing. Although she had no first-hand experience with the society, she had 3 indirect encounters with the cult. The first occurred in 1936 when Zora heard an odd beating of drums late one evening. She wanted to go out to investigate, but her house girl warned her to stay inside, or else they'd risk the cult's wrath. The second time happened when she questioned a man burning rubber tires near her house. The man explained that the tire smoke was to deter the cult members from abducting his son. Finally, she saw military men on a secret operation to suppress an unknown group in a remote area of the island. All this, plus accounts from locals who swore of the group's existence, painted the portrait of a terrifying group that met at night in ceremony and engaged in gruesome rituals, including ambushing travelers for human sacrifices. And coming at number 1 is the Skopsi. The Skopsi of Russia is a very strange group. They castrated themselves in belief that it would lead to salvation. Founded in the mid-18th century by 2 peasants, the Skopsis believed that genitals and breasts appeared only after Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit. Consequently, these organs must be removed to live a perfect life. Now, shortly after the group's founding, authorities arrested the 2 leaders and exiled them to Siberia. One of the leaders managed to escape and traveled to St. Petersburg, where he titled himself the Messiah and claimed to be the reincarnation of Tsar Peter III. His preaching attracted many followers, and it also attracted renewed attention from the authorities, who arrested him repeatedly and finally locked him up in a monastery for good. His incarceration and subsequent death did nothing to dampen the sect's growth. At its height, the Skepsi were believed to number more than 100,000 people and include members of the Russian elite. Now, following the Communist Revolution, the sect's numbers drastically declined, and today it is estimated that there are just over 100 left, most located in the sect's birthplace.
Next up, we have the Order of Skull and Bones. If that sounds a bit dark, don't worry, because it was actually originally named the Brotherhood of Death. So, anyways, it was a secret society at Yale University, and it is also the oldest known student secret society in the United States. It was founded in 1832, and memberships were few and far between, offered only to an elite few, including none other than 41st and 43rd Presidents George H.W. Bush and George Just W. Bush. Funny enough, as many secret societies do, the Order of Skull and Bones actually often practiced Masonic-inspired rituals. Which ones? No clue. They're secret societies for a reason, right? What I do know, however, is that they met every Thursday and Sunday in a building that was affectionately referred to as the tomb. And it wasn't just presidents in attendance, many of today's most powerful families were members of the society as well, including the Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, the Fords, Phelps, Pillsburys, Walkers, and Whitneys. Perhaps the most interesting theory about this secret society is that its formation led to the formation of the CIA, and that the intelligence agencies were built on the members of the group. Does the CIA deny this? Yes, but they also denied waterboarding. So
Next is the ominous sounding Black Hand. Kind of sounds like someone from Pirates of the Caribbean. I love how dramatic all these secret societies need to sound. Like they want to stay out of sight, but at the same time it's like we gotta call ourselves the Order of the Silver Dragon or something like that. You know, you wouldn't want to join like, welcome to Captain Peter's Lucky Lads. No, we're not gonna tell you what we do, it's a secret. Just doesn't sound quite as appealing. So the Black Hand was a secret military society which formed in 1901 in Serbia. So this was a group of mostly Serbian nationalists. They're probably most well known for taking out Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, which ultimately triggered the outbreak of World War I. So yeah, not much of a historical impact at all. The group aimed to unite South Slavic territories, particularly those under Austro-Hungarian rule, with the Kingdom of Serbia. The death of Archduke Franz Ferdinand set off this chain reaction of events, leading to the declaration of war by Austria-Hungary against Serbia, and then of course a bunch of other European powers got involved. World War I.
next up, we have the Bilderberg Group. And before you go judging the name, you should know that this particular secret society is actually based in the Netherlands. While there was no official Bilderberg membership list, attendees of the society's secret meetings, as a rule of thumb, were highly influential and included many government or ex-government officials. When the group got together, their main focus was politics, the economy, and military cooperation, which was fitting considering the society was formed in 1954 during the Cold War. While many believe that the group was formed in the hopes of dismantling society and creating a new world order, it seems that the actual main concern of the Bilderberg brothers was the rise of anti-Americanism throughout Western Europe. And so the society proposed an international conference in an effort to bring together European countries and the United States so that the two may reach a better understanding of one another. Was this successful? Let me know in the comments.
Coming in at number 10 is the Duk Duk. The Duk Duk is the secret society of the Tole people in Papua New Guinea. This ancient secret sect has played an important social role for centuries and continues to operate today, although with a very different focus. Members of the Duk Duk played the role of judge, jury, and executioner, though it is believed that they were possessed by spirits while performing these tasks. Now, during the colonial period, efforts were made to stamp out the Duk Duk. Although this secret society still exists today, it no longer carries out its former function and serves mainly as a tourist attraction. Now, one of the most notable features of the Duk Duk is the two types of ceremonial costumes worn by its members, both of which consist of a cone head and a leafy body. Now, in order to administer justice, members of the Duk Duk would begin by dancing in their costumes. They believed that by doing so, they would be possessed by the spirits of their ancestors. After the dance, shamans would confirm that the dancers were indeed possessed, and the secret society would travel across the island to execute the sentences proclaimed by the chiefs. Now, these sentences sometimes involved the death of the wrongdoer. Nevertheless, as the executioner was in theory possessed, he was not responsible for his actions and need not feel guilty for ending the life of another person. Number 9. The Leopard Society. The Leopard Society thrived mainly in West African nations such as Nigeria and Sierra Leone. Members of this group engaged in ritual human sacrifice and eating people. Dressing up in leopard skin and armed with sharp metal claws and teeth, a member would ambush and maul a victim to death. Afterward, the leper man collected the victim's blood and used it to make a potion that he believed would give him supernatural powers. Now, following a series of deaths after World War I, colonial authorities authorities in Sierra Leone and Nigeria wrongly thought that they had successfully suppressed the cult. The Leopard Society then popped up again after the Second World War, ending the lives of more than 40 people. Locals refused to provide any information about the cult because they were scared of the Leopard Men's. Now, only after authorities managed to end the life of a member in 1948 did several witnesses express their willingness to help. That breakthrough allowed authorities to find the cult's hideout, imprison 34 members, and hang another 39. To spread the word that the members were just human, the authorities allowed several local chiefs to view the executions. Number 8. The Bald Knobbers. This secret vigilante group sprang up in response to the rampant crime and lawlessness that plagued southwest Missouri after the Civil War. Led by their founder, a veteran named Nat Kinney, the Bald Knobbers of the Taney Count, so called because they held secret meetings up above bare mountaintops, proceeded to take the law into their own hands. Wearing their coats backwards and sporting odd horn masks, the Bald Knobbers employed such heavy-handed tactics as whipping, beating, and even ending the lives of suspected criminals. Now, eventually some Bald Knobbers went corrupt and began to use their membership to protect their own criminal activities. Now, the group's notoriety peaked in 1887 when they ended the lives of 2 critics and injured their families. Authorities arrested 20 members and executed 4 others. A year later, Kinney, who had already left the group before the shootings, had his life ended by an opponent of the organization. Now, although minor conflicts continued after that, the Bald Knobbers had effectively reached their end by 1889.
At number 5, we've got the Stewards, a group formed in 1903 by people at Georgetown University who were worried that the school was forgetting its Jesuit roots. They called themselves the Society of Stewards, but this was all hush-hush until 1988 when the student newspaper spilled the beans on them. Now here's the kicker. After the big reveal, they split into 2 groups. The original gang faded out in the 90s, but its spin-off, the Second Society of Stewards, is still hanging around today. But why all the fuss? Well, these groups are said to throw their weight behind a right-wing agenda, using their cash and status to swing things their way. For example, Jack Applebaum was being pushed by the group to be the student body president until word got out that he was part of the secret society, which made his campaign nosedive. At number 4 is the Cadaver Society. Deep within Washington and Lee University hides a secret society shrouded in mystery. Established back in 1957, this crew is as mysterious as it gets. Nobody knows for sure who the members are, but rumor has it they might be mostly pre-med students. Now what's striking is their stealth, as they only convene after sunset, decked out in black capes and hoods, making identification kind of impossible. Nobody knows where they meet up. Some whisper about underground tunnels camouflaging their movements, locked doors in the science building's basement, or even a tiny door in the Liborian library. Their symbol, a skull cradled in a C, pops up all over campus, often after some cheeky pranks. Now before major games, their mark used to grace the football field. Now a turf field, it's shifted to the hill nearby. And number 2 is the Skull and Bone Society. The super secretive group started back in 1832 at Yale University. The founders, William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft, made this club that's shrouded in mystery. Now what's wild is that some really big names are part of this crew. Every year, 15 seniors get picked to join the society, but here's the kicker, they gotta keep everything super hush. Their meetings are at a place called the Tomb, meeting twice a week and swearing to secrecy. Now there are some serious big shots who've been part of this crew. Presidents like Taft Bush, both senior and junior, John Kerry, and some bigwigs from Fortune 500 companies and the CIA. Oh, and there's this symbol that they rock, a skull with crossbones, obviously, with the number 322 beneath it, which people say might be linked to when Alexander the Great kicked the bucket. And at number 1 is the Order of Gimghoul. This mysterious society was based in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. They've been around since way back in 1889, but their membership and activities are shrouded in secrecy. Legend has it that their castle headquarters was built where a guy named Peter Dromgoole met his end in 1833 after a duel over a girl. It's said that there's this rock at the castle's entrance that's said to be stained with Dromgoole's. Originally, they were called the Order of Dromgoole, but they changed the name to Gimghoul for a scarier vibe, I guess. They're all about chivalry and the whole King Arthur deal, but nobody really knows who's in it or how they're picked. Some wild accusations about them came up on a show called The Chris Gethard Show, claiming involvement in serious stuff, but none of these claims have ever been proven true.